Your Eminence, Archbishop of Australia, Your Graces, Reverend Fathers, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished professors, colleagues, dear participants. It is a pleasure to be here today. I would like to thank the organizers for their invitation. I would like to thank Mr. Koyos because he personally extended this invitation to me many months ago. And I'm very happy because I have this opportunity to share a few words with you. Of course, it is very difficult to follow His Eminence, the Archbishop of Australia, but I will do my best. I have been teaching bioethics at the Harvard Medical School. And our course is also presented in the theology school of Harvard. And as you can see, our logo has the cross on it. And I'm the only Orthodox Christian among many Catholics and Protestants who are very distinguished theologians and scientists. I have also cooperated with the Orthodox Academy of Crete, Professor Zorbas, and I was assigned the bioethics area, the bioethics sector, a few years ago. And very recently, I was invited by the Archbishop of America to be a member of the first AI committee established by the Archbishop of America. We met for the first time last Friday. So I will talk about something which is, in my opinion, has already been mentioned by previous speakers to a certain degree, but I will seek to make the comparison between meta-anthropologic, the term meta-anthropologic, and the meta-ethics logos of AI. As we do in science, I sought to do the same thing. I used DALL-E 3, an AI platform, and I asked, AI as God.
As God, what do we get? And we see something like that. This is from DALL-E 3, from the software. What if we add AI as God with empathy? Then we have something like this. If we put this prompt, is artificial intelligence playing God, or theological, ethical, and pastoral perspectives of AI, then we get something like that, which is as if AI is trying to repeat back to us or to imagine or to just say something according to that. What I will not talk to you about is this. So I will not be talking about future anthropomorphic robots creating other beings. I will not talk to you about something like this, which is utopian. And the prompt for that was moral AI that you just saw. There is a wonderful quote that I always live by, or try to live by the famous theologian and Christian ethicist from Yale, James Gustafson. He says that we have to see ourselves making the transcendence between what a human being is to what being human ought to be. Just last week, I was at an event at MIT, which is next door to our institution at Harvard in Cambridge, Massachusetts. And one of the chaplains there, who is a chaplain at MIT and Harvard as well, gave this talk, and this is one of his recent publications, his books, Tech Agnostic. And the subtitle reads, "Technology became the world's most powerful religion." And we know that recently again, we have the first AI robots painting of British computer scientist and codebreaker Alan Turing that was sold for more than $1 million, becoming therefore the most valuable artwork by a humanoid robot ever to change hands at auction. So that's, I don't know if you have seen this, but that was really striking to me. Jonathan Haidt from NYU, New York University, has famously used this as a phrase to ask Siri, so this AI that most of us have if you have an iPhone, hey Siri, how do I find myself? Alluding to how do I find meaning in my life? Who am I? And so it therefore becomes a question of meaning and purpose. What is our telos? Not only in the eschatological way, from a theological standpoint, but specifically, how can we achieve human flourishing in our life, here and now, with the use of AI or not? I will give you a few examples from our medical school. So just this September, we have a new program that started. It's a PhD track under biomedical informatics, and it's called AI in Medicine. And only a few days before I boarded the plane from Boston to come to Athens, one of the recent alumni donated $6 million for AI healthcare and education. Underneath below, you can see our medical school campus, the main building, Gordon Hall. And I will show you a few amazing examples to illustrate that there is so much potential, and according to the recent magazine, the edition for this fall of 24, Harvard Medicine Magazine, how can AI help make medicine more human, is what the magazine reads. We have tools for brain cancer genome decoding live in real time during surgery. And I'll tell you more about that in a second. We have a new way to discover new drugs from thousands and tens of thousands combination of existing drugs using AI successfully. Somebody alluded to that yesterday. We have had an amazing new way of reading radiology reports. And as you can see here, the AI was able to pick up something that saved a life, that there was no aortic dilation in this case. And finally, very, very importantly, just from September, the end of September, there is a new AI model that identifies the drug candidates, I think I briefly mentioned that, from existing medicines, but specifically for rare diseases, for thousands of rare diseases. And then you have AI in Alzheimer's disease work with current drugs, AI for cardiovascular and heart transplant rejection, which is a big issue in bioethics with xenotransplantation. We've had 2 successful operations with a pig heart into a human being, but they were successful in the beginning, so they were rejected later on. So AI can help with that. We have the combination of natural and artificial intelligence, and then finally making AI more intelligent, making medicine more intelligent, excuse me. Now, something that is unique also at Harvard Medical School, but it's also a collaboration of MIT researchers, is this platform. It's a foundation for therapeutic science using AI. And in the words of our dean, Dean Daly, this is to remain at the forefront of medical education, so we must anticipate the physician of the future, practicing in an environment rich with cognitive support resources powered by AI tools. So specifically, I want to give you some more examples. I mentioned the new AI tool in surgery for genomic profiling of gliomas, which are, as you probably know or have heard, the most aggressive and most common brain tumors. And then the third bullet, the tool can provide real-time guidance, right, to surgeons on the optimal surgical approach for removal of cancerous tissue. And why is this significant? Because removing too much of it when the tumor is less aggressive can affect a patient's neurological and cognitive function later on. Or removing too little when the tumor is highly aggressive may leave behind malignant tissue that can grow and spread quickly. So now, switching a little bit to some of the way this works, AI works. According to a nice publication, The Promise, entitled The Promise of Artificial Intelligence, Reckoning and Judgment. And this is from a colleague from the University of Chicago, Anastasia Giannakidou, talking about Logos and ChatGPT specifically. So Smith in that book makes the case that the AI systems have failed to produce human-level intelligence, as we have mentioned, and as also the Archbishop Makarios mentioned as well, that this is not exactly human intelligence. It's of a different order than even the most powerful calculative ability of AI systems. So essentially, AI's ability has to do with reckoning. It does not deliver human quality judgment, which is supposed to be deliberative thought grounded in ethical commitment and responsible action. So all the different variations of what we have, ChatGPT 4 now is the new one, Google's BART, Microsoft's Sydney, that purportedly demonstrated the desire, the AI now, Sydney, talking, that it wanted to be free. So those are LLMs that produce text and recognize patterns, essentially. And if we're asking ourselves, what is the logos of AI? Logos is the feature of the human mind responsible for both language and rational thought. So it is logic, but that also helps with moral reasoning. It is also the conceptual causal prerequisite for human thinking and moral as well as social flourishing. This is very, very important for us at our Human Flourishing program. I showed you, you saw the logo earlier. So we'll talk about human flourishing specifically. Logos, most importantly, and for us and for me as well, is the Word of God in Christ Himself, or Logos με το κεφαλαίο λάμδα. ChatGPT and similar programs are by design unlimited in what they can learn, which is essentially to memorize. So they are not capable of distinguishing the possible from the impossible. And that creates a serious problem with how it pretends to be intelligent. AI does not have a mind in the sense of a human mind because it lacks logos with a lowercase lambda and logos with an uppercase L, or logos του Θεού. And through that, it lacks character, virtue, and practical wisdom, which we call phronesis. And we use that a lot in the United States, phronesis, the people say. So, as we know, we are created in the image and likeness, κατ' εικόνα και κατ' ομοίωση του Θεού, and technology that we have created, AI, is created in the image and likeness of humans, of us humans. Many other presenters alluded to that too. Something that I love as a quote from the Life of the World, or FLOW, as the acronym, towards the social ethos of the Orthodox Church, that came out of the ecumenical patriarchate under the chairing of the commission of Father John Chrysavgis, that I collaborate with, says, the desire for scientific knowledge flows from the same wellspring as faith's longing to enter ever more deeply into the mystery of God. This is from page 71. And I have that in Greek because it's wonderful to use our Greek language, and I'm sorry that I'm not saying that the whole time, αλλά η επιθυμία για επιστημονική γνώση απορρέει από την ίδια πηγή με αυτή της λαχτάρας της πίστης να εισέλθει ακόμα βαθύτερα στο μυστήριο του Θεού. Από το βιβλίο...
So again, this was the quote from the paper for the life of the world towards the social ethos of the Orthodox Church. Next semester, I'm going to be teaching this book in our theological school.
As good and as ethical as its algorithm and the way it has been trained. It can mislead if it is fed with ambiguous, biased, incomplete, and unreliable information, as we have seen continuously. it can also mislead in virtue of the fallacies of the algorithms that it relies upon. Flow, again, that document also notes humanity's power to transform physical reality for both good and ill is quite unprecedented in human history and constitutes both a peril and a responsibility. And I want to emphasize on the latter, the responsibility, as well as the opportunity that we have. AI draws from every dimension of cosmic existence and adopts the data points and training in its algorithms that humans decide to use or embed in them, with all conscious or unconscious biases that they bring along with or in them. After all, equitable, free of bias, legitimate, and necessary scientific research is indeed part of what Flow describes as the Christian's mission to transfigure the world in the light of God's kingdom. In this context, AI and its advancement reaches out to all of creation, to all of life, to every dimension of our cosmic existence, according to paragraph 69. So if you use this prompt now to go back to this experiment, theological, ethical, and pastoral perspectives, you get this, which is quite interesting, if not a little bit strange or weird or spooky, maybe. If you add AI to the same prompt, you get something like this, which alludes to this cosmic existence, but in a different way. Again, this is the AI's logos talking. And finally, I just am closing with a couple of recommendations and things that we are training the future clinician scientists. As I have in our program at Harvard Medical School, most of my students are in the MD, PhD program. So they're doing both the Doctor of Medicine clinical degree and the PhD in AI or in immunology. So we're training them to first, on the left hand side, on the left column, you see the bioethical principles, mainly respect for autonomy and the person, beneficence that includes non-maleficence, equity and justice, specifically with regard to social justice and health equity, and of course, research ethics principles, validity, reproducibility. But there are some prerequisites. There is guidance for researchers, specifically what to avoid in gene discovery, and there is implementation and how this can be disseminated to better educate the public. And this is from the National Academies of Medicine, Science, and Engineering in the United States. So this came out as a prompt after I asked, how can we see AI as healing for the world and ethically helping the world grow? And this is what came out again of that, which is quite different than the previous. And finally, we're using different AI tools that we're developing at my program, which is the Human Flourishing Program at Harvard, that includes my initiative on health, spirituality, and religion that I mentioned. And it's looking into the 6 measures of human flourishing now. And this can help us in our journey to flourish using technology and AI tools. And the 6 dimensions are happiness and life satisfaction, mental and physical health, which are reasonable, of course, but then most importantly, meaning and purpose, our telos. What is our eschatology? Character and virtue. How can we be virtuous agents and help other people in medicine and in science and everywhere? And then there are some other measures as well that are more tangible things necessary for survival. And I will leave you with this, one of my favorite quotes, and I think it says a lot about how we can see things differently, from the late and great Paul Farmer, who served as the Kolokotronis professor. That was his title, Kolokotronis professor at Harvard. He passed away 2 years ago. The idea that some lives matter less is the root of all that is wrong with the world. Ευχαριστώ πολύ.